This is VOA News. I'm Tommy McNeil. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing and reports progress and talks. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma has the story.
Blinken tells the international media the U.S. and China have pledged to stabilize their badly deteriorated ties during a critical visit.
I came to Beijing to strengthen high-level channels of communication, to make clear our positions and intentions in areas of disagreement, and to explore areas where we might work together when our interests align on shared transnational challenges, and we did all of that.
It remains to be seen whether the two countries can resolve their most important disagreements, many of which have international financial security and stability implications. Blinken, though, hopes there can be growing cooperation in a range of mutual areas. Blinken's the highest-level U.S. official to visit China since President Joe Biden took office, and the first Secretary of State to make the trip in 5 years. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The UN Human Rights Commissioner, Volker Turk, warns human rights around the world are in a perilous state of countries are failing to honor the fundamental rights and freedoms of all peoples.
In a sweeping global review of the human rights situation in dozens of countries, the High Commissioner highlighted the many atrocities and crimes being committed in all regions of the world, including Africa. He pointed to egregious cases of abuse and discrimination in countries such as Uganda, which recently adopted legislation criminalizing homosexuality. He criticized Mali's request for the withdrawal of MINUSMA, the UN's peacekeeping mission, saying human rights must always be above the fray of politics.
That's VOA's Lisa Schlein reporting. This is VOA News. The Kremlin spokesman says that UN aid workers who want to visit areas ravaged by a recent dam collapse in southern Ukraine cannot go there because fighting in the war makes it unsafe. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov did not explicitly admit that Russia has blocked UN access, but he told a news conference with reporters on Monday that Ukrainian attacks made a visit too risky. The UN earlier rebuked Moscow for allegedly denying aid workers access to Russian-occupied areas where residents are stranded amid devastating destruction. Violence across the U.S. over the weekend has left at least 6 people dead. AP correspondent Donna Water with more.
In suburban Chicago, at least 23 people were shot, one fatally early Sunday, as hundreds of people gathered to celebrate Juneteenth. Nicole Kosney, who lives nearby, tells ABC 7 Chicago that she was lying in bed when she heard a helicopter flying over her house.
I got up and looked out the window, and it was just chaos. There was sirens coming from every direction. There was just hundreds of cop cars.
In other incidents, a state trooper was killed and a second was critically wounded just hours apart in central Pennsylvania on Saturday after a gunman attacked a state police barracks. And one teen was killed and 9 others were wounded by gunfire when they were having a party early Sunday in an office space in downtown St. Louis. I'm Donna Water.
Americans mark Juneteenth with parties and events and quiet reflection of the end of slavery. AP correspondent Julie Walker.
Holidays traditions are facing new pressures. Political rhetoric condemning efforts to teach Americans about the nation's racial history. Black heritage researcher Robin Caldwell says there's a clear educational gap
in understanding what freedom actually meant within the context of, say, July 4th. We can just absorb ourselves into the concept of the country's founding and independence. But even at the signing of the Declaration of Independence, you had signers who were enslavers.
Juneteenth marks the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, learned they'd been freed. 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. I'm Julie Walker.
In prison, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has urged his supporters to launch a new campaign against Moscow's actions in Ukraine. He made a call on his social media networks as he went on trial Monday on new charges of extremism that could keep him behind bars for decades. The session took place at a maximum security penal colony east of Moscow, where Navalny is serving a 9-year sentence for fraud and contempt of court. Charges, he says, are politically motivated. I'm Tommy McNeil, VOA News.
Thank you for watching. Can you do me a favor? Please leave a comment in the comments section below. That would really help. Thank you, and see you again soon.